A werewolf shifter romance written by Catherine Stewart. Prologue. The wind, it whispered secrets through the tall, dark pines that night. Truth be told, it sounded like a sad song, a very sad song. Inside our little hidden cabin, Mama held me close. Her arms were strong, but I felt a tiny tremble in them. More importantly, her eyes, usually bright like summer stars, they looked worried, darting to the shuttered window again and again. "Remember the moon song, little one?" she whispered, her breath warm against my hair. Her fingers traced the silver locket she always wore, the one shaped like a tiny, sleeping moon. "It was because of that locket," she said, "that we always had to be careful. Always." Still, I didn't understand. Careful of what? The forest was our friend. "There are shadows in the world, Selena," she murmured, her voice low and soft, like the rustle of leaves in a lonely place. "Shadow weavers, who don't like the light. They hunt for hearts like yours, little moonbeam." And then, she unclasped the locket. Its silver felt cool, so cool, against my small palm as she pressed it into my hand. "This will keep you safe. It remembers the light, even when the dark comes. Never lose it. Promise me." Her voice trembled just a little then. I nodded, my own heart starting to beat like a scared bunny's. "I promise, Mama." What followed was her humming a soft tune, the moon song she always sang, but tonight it sounded different. Sadder. Like a goodbye, a long goodbye. Outside, a twig snapped. Sharp. Loud. Mama went stiff. Her eyes, they flew to the door. Before she could move, a harsh voice called out, cold as winter ice. "Seraphina, we know you're in there. The covenant always finds its own." Mama kissed my forehead, quick and fierce. "Run, Selena. Run through the back way. Don't stop. And never forget the light." As if pulled by a string, she pushed me towards a loose floorboard I didn't even know was there, a dark hole leading under the cabin. And just like that, my world tilted. The last thing I saw was Mama turning to face the door, her small chin held high, a silver light starting to glow around her hands, ready to meet the shadows that had finally found us. The mud, it just sucked at my boots, thick and cold. Truth be told, everything felt cold these days. Even the air tasted wrong, like old pennies and dust. Before me, the trees stood like sad, gray skeletons, their leaves all brown and curly. Not green and happy like they should be, not in summer. As a result, the forest was quiet. Too quiet. No birds sang. No squirrels chattered. It was because the blight was here. This creeping sickness, it just ate the life from everything. Not only that, it made the land feel wrong, like a bad dream you can't wake from. My father, the old alpha, he got sick like this land. What followed was him just fading. Like a candle in a strong wind, he just went out. And then, it was my job. My job to be alpha. My job to fix this. But how? No matter how hard I tried to be strong, a cold knot would twist in my belly. How could one wolf, even an alpha, fight a shadow that ate the whole forest? The pack looked to me. More importantly, they needed hope, and I had to give it to them, even when I felt none myself. I pushed on through the dying woods, because stopping meant giving up on them, on everything Dad built. The land was dying, the game was hiding, and the pack was scared. What's worse, I felt that fear too, a cold snake in my own gut. Moments later, a weird smell hit my nose. It wasn't blight. No, it was different. Sweet, like wildflowers after a rain, but with something wild and sharp underneath. My wolf, it perked up inside me. Alert. In that moment, I knew. Something new had come to our dying woods. Soon after I got back to the den, the meeting started. The big cave, it felt small with all my pack crammed inside. Their eyes, all those eyes, they looked right at me. Deep down, I knew the truth. They were hungry for good news, but I didn't have much. Old Alara, her voice was like dry leaves rustling. "Alpha Derek, the berry patches are barren. The sickness in the soil, it spreads." To make things worse, young Torin, his voice trembled, actually trembled, when he spoke. "My little sister, Lyra, she has the cough again." A heavy silence filled the cave then, thick as the blight fog outside. So heavy. It was because everyone knew what that cough could mean. Elder Morwen, her silver fur caught the dim light, always so calm. Her voice, smooth like river stones. Patience, young ones. The Alpha guides us. We must trust his strength. But then, her eyes, they flicked to me. Just for a second. And I saw something flicker there, something I couldn't quite name. Was it a challenge? Or something else? Maybe it was fate, but I had to make a choice. Right then. We will set new hunting grounds further north. I said, my voice louder than I felt inside. Much louder. And the oldest foraging trails, we close them. The blight taints them. We must be careful. We must be strong. And we must protect our own. That's why some wolves grumbled. The north, it was dangerous. Closer to the Ironfang Pack's lands. Too close. And just like that, I saw Garrick, his jaw tight. He always wanted to challenge me, that one. Always. This just gave him another reason. What followed was a tense quiet. Heavy like a storm cloud about to burst. The weight of their fear, it was like a mountain pressing down on my shoulders. That night, as I lay on my cold furs, I wondered, was I leading them to safety? Or just to a different kind of end? A scout, Finn. He was supposed to be back by dark from the western ridge. He wasn't. This meant trouble. Big trouble was brewing. More than just the blight. Come morning, Finn, he still wasn't back. That settled it. Because of that, I took a small patrol, just me, Theron, and Isla, and we headed west. The air was damp, heavy with the smell of wet earth and something else, something sharp, like ozone after a lightning strike. As the wind shifted, it brought that other scent again, the one from yesterday, wildflowers and wildness. My wolf paced inside me, restless. It didn't know what scared it more, or maybe it was excitement. I didn't know either. Soon after, we found Finn's tracks. Easy enough. And then we found signs of others. Not Ironfang, no. Their scent was all rage and rust. These tracks were neat. Careful. Skilled. In fact, too skilled for random wanderers. They knew these woods. More importantly, they were trying not to be seen. Who were they? And what could they possibly want in my dying territory? My hand, it just went to the hunting knife at my belt. We followed those tracks deeper, into the thickest part of the woods. The tension broke when Isla, her nose sharp as always, suddenly froze. Alpha, she whispered, her voice tight, strained. Up ahead. Smell that? Not animal. With every heartbeat, that strange, compelling scent grew stronger. Wildflowers and something female. My wolf, it growled low in my chest. A possessive rumble, a sound I hadn't felt, hadn't made. In years. It was like a string pulled me forward deeper. Who was she? And why? Why did her scent make my blood feel like fire? Just like that, everything else faded. The blight, the hungry pack, Finn's disappearance. Gone. Only this new mystery mattered. Before I could move another step, a howl. It ripped through the air. An alarm howl from near the den. Sharp. Urgent. Blight.
The forest it exploded. A terrible sound, a howl so sharp it made my teeth hurt. Before I could move, branches snapped nearby. Big shapes, crashing through the trees. My heart jumped right into my throat. I had to hide, because whatever made that sound, it was coming closer. Much closer. So, I squeezed myself into the roots of a giant, mossy tree, trying to be small, trying to be invisible. Moments later, a monster burst into the little clearing. It was all twisted and wrong, with glowing red eyes and fur like dead leaves. It smelled awful, like rotten meat and fear itself. Its breath, it came in ragged, gurgling gasps. And then, a huge black wolf, the biggest wolf I had ever seen, slammed into that monster. They rolled and snarled, a blur of teeth and claws. The black wolf, it was so strong. So fierce. As if the forest watched, holding its breath, the fight was fast and brutal. But then, the monster, it threw the black wolf off. It turned its glowing red eyes towards me. In that moment, I knew. It saw me. Terror, cold and sharp, stabbed right through me. I squeezed my eyes shut, waiting for teeth, for pain. Instead, a weird tingling, it zapped through my hands. A bright light flashed behind my eyelids. I felt it more than saw it, and a strange hum filled the air around me. When I opened my eyes, the monster was dazed, shaking its ugly head. And just like that, the black wolf was on it again, finishing the fight with a final, terrible crunch. Silence. As the silence roared, the giant black wolf turned. Its eyes weren't red. They were gold. And they looked right into me, like it could see every secret I ever had. My breath caught. This wasn't just a wolf. Before the words left my lips, my whole body knew. This was him. The one whose scent had haunted my steps. What followed was the giant wolf, changing. Bones cracked, I heard them. Fur seemed to melt away, and then a man stood there. A very big man. Tall, with wide shoulders, and those same golden eyes. He was all muscle and power, wearing only torn pants. My world tilted. He moved towards me. Slowly. But every step he took, it felt like thunder in my chest. Who are you? His voice was low, a growl rumbling deep inside him. I tried to speak, I really did, but no sound came out. Truth be told, I was too scared to even breathe right. Because of that, I just stared. He smelled like pine trees, and damp earth, and that wild, clean scent that had pulled at me earlier. But then, his eyes, they weren't just curious. They were possessive. Like he already owned me. That's why I finally found my voice, even if it was just a squeak. Stay away from me. I scrambled back, deeper into the tree roots. He stopped. I won't hurt you. His voice was still a growl, but maybe a little softer? Deep down, I knew the truth, or I thought I did. Men like him, powerful men, they always hurt people like me. That's why I was always running. He took another step. You're coming with me. It wasn't a question. It was an order. And she let it happen, or rather, my body did. I was too tired, too scared to fight him. Not only that, what choice did I have? He was an alpha, I knew that much about shifters. He could probably snap me in two. So, I let him lead me through the dark woods, my heart pounding like a trapped bird. His hand on my arm, it was surprisingly gentle, yet strong as iron. With his scent in the air, a confusing warmth spread through me, right next to the fear. What was happening to me? This was bad. This was very, very bad. Soon after, we reached a cave, hidden behind a waterfall. Inside, it was surprisingly warm, lit by a few smoky fires. And it was full of them. Wolves in human skin. Dozens of eyes, all turned to us. The air thickened. Every single one of them looked at me with suspicion, with fear, some even with hate. No matter how hard I tried to look brave, I know I looked like a scared rabbit. This was his pack. The Stoneclaws had rumbled their name on the walk. And then, a woman with silver hair and cold eyes, she stepped forward. Elder Morwen, her voice was like smooth ice. Derek. What is this? Creature, you bring into our den? Creature. My face burned. Derek, that was his name then, he just pulled me closer to his side. His body was like a furnace. "She is my mate," he growled, his voice echoing in the big cave. Mate. The word hit me like a physical blow. My heart skipped. Every wolf in the cave gasped. Some growled low. It was because an alpha claiming a stranger, an outsider, as a mate, it was a big deal. A dangerous deal. Especially now, with the blight so close. I wanted to scream, "No. I'm not his mate. I don't even know him." But then, I looked at Derek's face. His jaw was set. His golden eyes, they dared anyone to challenge him. Maybe it was fate, or maybe I was just too stunned, but I stayed silent. Just like that, my life, which was already a mess of running and hiding, got a whole lot more complicated. A beat later, a young, angry-looking wolf with dark hair, Garrick, his name felt like a snarl, he spat on the ground. An outsider? Now, Derek? When the blight sickens our lands and weakens our blood? Before either could speak again, a small, bright light flashed from my locket, the one I always wore, the one my mother gave me. Everyone stared. And my world tilted again, because in that moment, I felt a strange power hum inside me, answering the locket's call. What was happening?
After the flash of light from her shiny locket, the whole cave just stared. Even Garrick, all puffed up and angry, he shut his mouth. Fast. Truth be told, I didn't know what to make of it either. This woman, Selena, Shed whispered her name to me in the woods, her voice like a scared bird's wing. She was full of surprises. And secrets. My wolf, it didn't care about secrets. It just knew. Mate. So, I pulled her a little closer. She trembled, like a leaf in a storm. Enough. I growled, my voice bouncing off the stone walls. Hard. She is under my protection. Mine. Despite that, I saw the fear in her eyes, big and wide. Fear of me. That's why my gut twisted. A mate shouldn't fear her alpha. But then, she'd been through a lot. The monster in the woods, me dragging her here. Yeah, more importantly, I needed answers. What was that light? Who was she really? That night, I gave her my own small sleeping cave, the one next to the main chamber. I told her, no one will bother you here. You're safe. She just looked at me with those big, haunted eyes and nodded. She didn't believe me. Not one bit. No matter how hard I tried to sound gentle, my voice still came out rough, like stones grinding. Later, I tried talking to her. Selena. I started, sitting by her little fire. That locket, that light, what was it? She hugged herself tight. So tight. I don't know. Her voice was soft, so soft I had to lean in just to hear. It just happens sometimes. When I'm scared. Because of that, I felt a strange pang in my chest. Scared. She was always scared. What kind of life had she lived to be so afraid? And then, I thought about those neat tracks in the woods, the ones that weren't iron fong. Someone was hunting her. Someone skilled. This meant she was in even more danger than I first thought. Much more. The next morning, I asked old Alara, one of our oldest healers, to sit with Selena. Alara, she had a gentle way, even if her eyes were sharp as a hawk's. Just see if she'll talk, Alara, I mumbled. Find out what you can, and make sure she eats something. Still, the pack was restless. Garrick kept stirring them up. An outsider mate. While the blight creeps closer. Is our alpha blind? Head snarl, just loud enough for me to hear. What followed was me having to put him in his place. More than once. A quick snap of my teeth. A low growl. It kept him quiet, for a bit. But the anger in his eyes, it just got colder. Meanwhile, Selena, she stayed mostly in my cave. But then, one afternoon, a commotion started near the stream. Shouts. A yelp of pain. My heart pounded. Selena. I raced out, and there she was. A couple of the younger pack wolves, they'd cornered a rabbit. A small, blight-touched thing, its fur patchy, one eye glowing faintly red. They were about to kill it. And then, Selena, She just stepped in front of it. "No, don't hurt it," she cried out. Before I could move, her hands glowed, that same soft, silver light from her locket. But this time, it came from her. It washed over the rabbit. And just like that, the red faded from its eye. Its fur seemed better. It blinked, and then it hopped away, just a normal rabbit. The young wolves, they stared, their jaws hanging open. So did I, healing? Could she heal the blight? With a single glance, I knew this changed everything. This power, it was more than I could ever imagine. In the quiet that followed, Selena looked at her hands, her face pale with shock. She didn't know what scared her more, her power, or our reaction to it. Soon after that happened with the rabbit, word spread through the pack like wildfire. The alpha's mate, she has magic. Some whispered it with awe, others with fear. Garrick and his bunch, they called it dark magic, blight magic. To make things worse, old Morwen. She watched Selena with an intensity that made my fur prickle. What was she thinking? On the other hand, Selena, she seemed even more scared now. She barely left the cave. Because of that, I knew I had to do something. The Iron Fangs, they'd been quiet for a few days. Too quiet. Kale was a snake, always planning something. That's why I doubled the patrols. And then, it happened. A warning howl from the eastern border, Iron Fangs. A small raiding party, but bold. Coming in close. "Stay here," I ordered Selena, my voice harsher than I meant. Her eyes widened, but she nodded. Without another word, I shifted. The burn, the snap of bones, the world exploding into scent and sound, and raced towards the fight with my warriors. The clash was brutal. Fur flew. Teeth snapped. We were outnumbered, just a little. But then, from the edge of the clearing, a scream. "Selena!" My wolf roared. Shed followed us. She stood there, frozen, watching Kale's biggest warrior bear down on young Torin. Her body moved on instinct. That silver light, brighter this time, almost blinding, shot from her hands. It hit the Ironfang warrior. He howled, a sound of pure agony, stumbled back, clutching his eyes. Torin scrambled free. What's worse, Kale saw it all. His eyes, like chips of ice, they fixed on Selena. A hungry look, a knowing look. We drove them back, but not before Kale shouted, his voice raw with triumph. "The prize is even sweeter than the covenant promised." Covenant? What covenant? As the echo faded, Kale and his curs vanished into the trees, leaving that one word hanging in the air like a poison.
After that fight, after that horrible wolf Kale shouted about a covenant and called me a prize, my insides felt like a tangled, shaking mess. A prize. What did that even mean? Truth be told, I wanted to run again. Just run, and never stop. But then, where would I go? Derek, Alpha Derek, he brought me back to his cave. His eyes, they were like dark gold, full of questions I couldn't answer. He didn't know what scared him more, I think, my strange light, or the enemies it seemed to attract. That night, I clutched my locket. It felt warm. Always warm. Was this locket, was it the reason they wanted me? And then, Derek came into my little cave. He sat, not too close, but close enough that I could smell the forest on him, pine and damp earth, and that wild, musky scent that was just him. "Selena." He rumbled, his voice softer than before, much softer. That word Kale used. Covenant. Do you know it? I shook my head, my throat tight. So tight. No. I've never heard it. Despite that, a cold feeling crawled up my spine. Covenant. It sounded old. And dark. "They seem to know you," he said, his gaze sharp, piercing. "Or, that light you make." Because of that, I felt a fresh wave of fear. My light! It was supposed to be my secret. Now it was a beacon, drawing monsters straight to me. I don't understand it, I whispered, the words barely there. It just happens. Derek stayed quiet for a long, long time. As the silence stretched, he finally said, "We need to find out what it is. And who this covenant is. Because if they want you, they'll come through me and my pack to get you." And just like that, my fear got a new partner, a tiny, weird flutter of something else. Safety? Near him? How could that be? He was a wolf, an alpha, a creature of power I should fear. Yet. Soon after, Derek started asking questions around his pack. Old wolves. Wary wolves. He even brought some old, dusty scrolls into my little cave. He couldn't read the really old writing, not well, but he pointed at some pictures. Wolves, and glowing moons, and strange, swirling symbols. Meanwhile, I kept touching my locket. It seemed to hum, just a little, when I looked at those pictures. More importantly, I started to feel different. Less like a cornered animal, more like maybe there were answers, if I was brave enough to look for them. Still, the pack wolves watched me. Always watched. Especially that angry one, Garrick. And the silver-haired woman, Morwen. Her eyes were like ice chips, always watching. Always. Because of that, I mostly stayed hidden. One day, Derek took me to a hidden part of their territory. It was a small, round clearing with a big, flat stone in the middle. It felt different here. Peaceful. But also, like something was sleeping. Deep down. "This is the Moonwell," Derek said, his voice quiet, almost reverent. "Old stories say it used to glow. That it held power. My locket!" As if pulled by a string, I stepped towards that stone. The locket grew warmer, hot. Hot against my skin. And then, my head just exploded. Pictures. So many pictures, flashing, swirling. Ancient wolves, tall and proud, with eyes like silver moons. They fought shadowy creatures, not with teeth and claws, but with light. Pure, beautiful light, just like mine. I saw them build these moonwells. I saw them betrayed. By a group called the Obsidian Covenant. In that moment, I knew. I knew who I was. Or what I was. A lunar ascendant. The light, it wasn't a curse. It was my blood. My heritage. My world tilted. I stumbled back, gasping for air. Derek caught me. "Selena. What is it? What did you see?" His voice was urgent, his hands strong on my arms, so strong. The truth unraveled in a rush of words, ascendants, moonwells, the covenant, the blight, everything just poured out of me. What followed was Derek staring at me, his golden eyes wide with something I couldn't read. Awe. Disbelief? Fear? Maybe all three. Lunar ascendant. He breathed the words, like a prayer, like a curse. The old legends, they were true? And then, before I could even try to answer, a new voice whispered in my mind, so soft, like moonlight sifting through leaves. "You are not alone, child of light. A beautiful, silver wolf, made of mist and stars, shimmered before my inner eye. Lyra, her name echoed in my thoughts. I can guide you. Help you awaken what sleeps within. Before I could speak to this Lyra spirit, the real world crashed back in. The air itself grew cold, bitterly cold. The sky darkened even though it was midday. A horrible, screeching sound ripped through the forest. It went right through me. Not only that, the ground under my feet trembled. Without warning, twisted, blighted creatures, more than I'd ever seen, began to pour into the clearing around the moonwell. Their red eyes, they burned with hate. To make things worse, Alpha Kale was with them. And beside him, figures in dark cloaks. The Obsidian Covenant. They had found us. There she is. Kale snarled, pointing right at me. His voice was full of triumph. The prize! Get her for the Magister. Derek shoved me behind him, his body a solid wall of muscle and fury. He shifted, a blur of black fur and snapping teeth. Growl! His snarl was a promise of death. As fire bloomed beneath my skin, the Lyra spirit whispered again, urgently, use your light, child. Now. Feel the moonwell's echo. Fight. My locket burned against my chest. My hands tingled, ached with power. As if fate demanded it, I raised them. Could I do it? Could I really fight these horrors? Could I save myself, and maybe even this fierce alpha who stood before me like a storm unleashed?
After the brutal fight at the Moonwell, the air still tasted like blood and fear. Kale and his dark-cloaked Covenant scum, they'd slunk away. But not before showing their hand. They wanted Selena. Badly. Truth be told, seeing her light, that incredible, healing, fighting light, it changed everything. She wasn't just some lost girl I'd stumbled upon. No, she was more. So much more. And then, back in the den, the silence was heavy. So heavy. The pack was scared. I was scared too, though I'd never let them see it. Selena, she looked small and shaken, but her eyes had a new fire in them. More importantly, she clutched that locket like it was her only anchor in a storm. The Moonwell, she whispered that night, her voice thin but determined, when I brought her some stew. Derek, the spirit, Lyra, she said I have to awaken it. It's the only way to fight the blight in them. Lyra, a spirit wolf only she could see or hear. My own wolf rumbled low, uneasy, trusting a voice no one else heard. It was because of this a shiver went down my spine. Still, what choice did we have? Really? Then we'll do it, I said, my voice more sure than I felt. Much more. He'll protect you. Well awakened the Moonwell. Her body moved on instinct. Her hand, it reached for mine. Just for a second. Warm. Soft. Then she pulled back. Her eyes wide, as if surprised by her own touch. And just like that, a vow was made. A path chosen. Right there, in the flickering firelight. We were going to dance with ancient magic. And hope. Just hope. We didn't get burned. What followed was days of strangeness. Selena would go to the Moonwell with old Alara, and sometimes that young warrior, Theron, for protection. I wanted to be there, every second, but Alpha duties, settling disputes, organizing patrols, trying to find enough food, they pulled me away. Deep down, I knew the truth. I didn't like her being out of my sight. Especially not when she was training. Lyra, the spirit, was teaching her. Selena would come back exhausted, sometimes pale and trembling, other times with a strange, distant look in her eyes that scared me. My wolf stirred within me, restless and agitated. What was this spirit teaching her? What price was Selena paying for this power? Once, I found her alone by the stream, tears silently tracing paths down her dusty cheeks. It's my past, Derek. She choked out when I sat beside her. The visions. Lyra shows me things. Why I was hunted. How they guided me. Before I could move, she turned on me, her eyes blazing with a sudden, wild fury. Was it you too, Alpha? Was I just a prize for you from the start? Did your mate Bond guide you to the last lunar ascendant everyone was looking for? Her words, they hit me like physical blows. Hard. My chest ached. Selena, no. The space between them burned. My wolf wanted to howl, to drag her close, to soothe her pain, to make her understand. But then, how could she trust me, an alpha, when her whole life had been a lie, orchestrated by those who wanted to use her? That's why I just sat there, my heart feeling like a stone in my chest, as she wept for a past stolen by shadows. This enemy's pawn idea, it was a poison between us. A bitter, burning poison. Despite that new, raw wound between us, the preparations for the Moonwell ritual had to go on. Time was running out. The blight, it was getting worse. 2 more elders had taken to their beds with the wasting sickness. And then, the night before we were set to try and awaken the Moonwell, disaster struck. An alarm howl, sharp, terrified, ripped through the den. Not from the borders this time. Inside, without thinking, I burst from my cave. Chaos. Pack wolves snarling, fighting each other. To make things worse, a group of them. Garrick at their head, his eyes wild and red-rimmed. Not blight red, but something else, something. Forced, we're dragging a struggling Ilera away from the healing caves. Garrick, what is this madness? I roared, my voice cracking like a whip. He snarled back. The outsider which has poisoned our elder, Alpha? Morwen saw it. She uses blight magic. Morwen. She stood behind him, her face a mask of sorrow, but her eyes gleamed with a cold, hard triumph. My world tilted. Betrayal. Deep and rotten. Right here in my own pack. As if summoned, more of Garrick's followers appeared, blocking the way to Selena's cave. They held crude weapons. Some even had torches, their flames casting dancing, demonic shadows on the walls. And just like that, everything changed. They weren't just trying to stop the ritual. No, they were trying to get to Selena. Her name hung in the air, unspoken, but I knew. This was Morwen's doing. The Covenant's tendrils, they were wrapped right around my pack's heart. My pack's bleeding heart.
After that horrible moment, Morwen's smiling, evil face. Garrick's wild eyes. The smell of torches and angry wolves. Derek grabbed my arm. We have to move. Now, he roared. Truth be told, my legs felt like water, just water. Wolves I'd seen in the den, wolves who had mostly ignored me, now snarled with bared teeth, blocking our way. And then, Derek, he became a storm. A blur of black fur and pure alpha fury. He smashed through them, dragging me behind him. We ran. Out of the main caves, into the twisting, darker tunnels that led, somewhere. Hopefully towards the Moonwell. More importantly, shouts and howls echoed behind us. They were coming. This way. Derek grunted, pulling me down a narrow passage I hadn't even known was there. It was because of his strength, his sheer will, that we even made it out of the den's heart. Still, just as we burst into the pre-dawn gloom of the forest, shadows. They detached themselves from the trees. More wolves. But these weren't Stoneclaws. Their scent was wrong, all rust, and blood, and rage. Iron fangs. And Kale. Kale was there. A cruel grin splitting his scarred face. And just like that, we were trapped. Trapped. Between the traitors of Derek's pack and Kale's hungry killers. As if fate demanded it, the fight exploded around me. Derek fought like a demon. He was everywhere. A black whirlwind of claws and teeth, protecting me, always trying to keep himself between me and the snapping jaws. But then, one of the dark-cloaked figures, Covenant, lifted a hand. A sickly green light, it shot out. It hit Derek. He roared, a sound of pure agony, and stumbled. His golden eyes, they found mine for a second. Full of pain, and something else, regret. Before I could move, Kale was on him. What followed was a nightmare, a living nightmare. Derek, my fierce protector, my alpha, he went down. Kale's teeth, they sank into his shoulder. Derek's answering snarl was weaker, so much weaker. Deep down, I knew the truth, he was badly hurt. So badly. And then, rough hands grabbed me. Strong hands. I screamed, thrashing, kicking. Derek! My voice, it was a thin, broken thing. He tried to rise, his great black head lifting, a terrible wound gushing blood down his fur. But then, a Covenant man in a dark robe pressed something cold and metallic against my neck, my locket. It went icy. And the small power inside me, it just died. Like a snuffed candle flame. Gone. To make things worse, I saw young Theron, one of the few Stoneclaws who had been kind to me, try to reach Derek. Kale backhanded him with a clawed fist. Theron fell, and didn't move. Dead. Oh, please no. More importantly, I was being dragged away. Away from Derek. Away from the only safety I had known in forever. No matter how hard I tried to fight, their grip was like iron. Eventually, they tied my hands with rough rope that bit into my skin. Kale laughed, a horrible, gloating sound. The Magister will be pleased. The little Ascendant is finally ours. He kicked Derek's still form, one last time. My chest ached with a pain so sharp it stole my breath. He wasn't moving. Was he dead? As the silence roared in my ears, they pulled me deeper into the blight-twisted forest, towards the hidden moonwell. My locket felt like a stone of ice against my skin. The world, it was all shadows and despair now. Just despair. By the time we reached the moonwell, I was numb. Just numb. My feet stumbled over roots, my hands raw from the ropes. The air thickened around the ancient stones, but not with peace. No. It felt wrong. So wrong. The Covenant figures, maybe 5 of them, they started chanting. Low, ugly words that made my skin crawl. Kale and his iron fangs stood guard, their eyes hungry, like starved beasts. And then, they dragged me to the flat stone in the center, the very stone where I'd seen the beautiful visions of my ancestors. Now it felt cold, defiled. They forced me down onto it. As if the forest watched in silent horror, one of the robed figures held up a jagged, black crystal. It pulsed with a sickly, green-black light, like the heart of the blight itself. The Magister wills it, the figure intoned, his voice like dry bones rattling in a grave. The power of the Ascendant will be unmade, and remade, for us. My thoughts spun. Unmade. Remade. What did they mean? She didn't know what scared her more, their words, or the dead, empty feeling where my own small light used to be. Lyra, my spirit guide, where was she? I called for her in my mind, desperately. But there was only silence. Utter, terrifying silence. Because of that, a despair so deep, so cold, settled over me. I was alone. Derek was gone. My power was gone. They were going to do something terrible to me, to this sacred place. In the stillness that followed their chanting, the black crystal was lowered towards my chest, towards my useless, icy locket. This was it then. The end of everything. My fault. All my fault. If I had never come here, if I had never been born, Derek would still be alive. The Stoneclaws wouldn't be betrayed. And she let it happen, or rather, a part of me did. What else was there to do? Hope. Hope was a forgotten word.
After that blinding pain, after Kale's teeth ripped into me, darkness had tried to swallow me whole. I lay there, in the mud and blood, the sounds of Selena's scream, her capture, echoing in my broken mind. Truth be told, a part of me wanted to just let go. Let the darkness take me. What was the point? I had failed. Failed my father. Failed my pack. Failed Selena. My chest ached with a coldness that had nothing to do with the damp earth. Moen's treachery. Garrick's madness. It all swirled like a poison. But then, through the haze of pain, something pulsed. Faint. So faint. A tiny thread of warmth, pulling at my very soul. Selena. The mate bond. She was alive. And she was fighting? Or maybe it was just the echo of her terror, her despair, reaching me. It was because of that tiny, fragile thread that a spark ignited in the ashes of my spirit. No, I couldn't give up. Not while she still breathed. More importantly, if she was alive, the Covenant hadn't won yet. With every heartbeat, a new, cold resolve started to freeze over the pain. I had to get up. I had to fight. One last time. As if pulled by a string, I managed to push myself up, my wounded shoulder screaming. The forest was quiet now. Empty. They were gone. And they had her. But she wasn't alone. Not entirely. Not if this bond still held. And I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. What followed was me stumbling through the blight-twisted woods, leaning heavily on a stout branch. Every step was agony. Still, that thread, it pulled me forward, towards the moonwell. I knew that's where they'd take her. And then, a rustle in the undergrowth. I tensed, a weak growl rumbling in my chest. Alpha, a familiar voice. Theron, and Isla. Their faces were grim, streaked with dirt and blood, but they were alive. And loyal. My heart skipped a beat, not of fear this time, but of fierce, sudden hope. They got past us, Alpha, Theron said, his voice hoarse, rough. Too many. Kale, and those robed ones. They have Selena, at the moonwell. No matter how hard I tried to hide it, a wave of dizziness washed over me from blood loss. Isla was there, supporting me. We thought you were. She started, her voice thick with unshed tears. Not yet, I grunted. Listen, we can't beat them with brute force. Not now. Not with so few of us. Because of that, we needed a plan. A desperate plan. They're focused on Selena, I said, thinking fast, the pieces clicking into place despite the pain. On whatever dark magic they plan to use her for at the moonwell. That's why they'll be arrogant. Overconfident. I looked at their determined faces, their eyes burning with a loyal fire. We don't fight them all. We create a diversion. Something big. Something loud. And while they're distracted, I get to Selena. I get her free. And she does what only she can do at that moonwell. It was a long shot, a fool's hope maybe. But it was all we had. And just like that, we were a pack again. Small. Broken. But a pack with a purpose. A dangerous, desperate purpose. Soon after we made our desperate plan, we moved. Slowly at first, saving what little strength I had left. The air thickened with the stench of the blight as we got closer to the moonwell. And with something else, a dark, oily magic that made my first stand on end. It felt wrong. Evil. As the silence stretched, we could hear it. A low, horrible chanting. The Covenant. They were already starting. My wolf pressed forward inside me, a savage, protective rage giving me a false surge of strength. We crept to the edge of the clearing. There it was, the moonwell, but it was different. Dark shadows writhed around it, like snakes made of smoke. And on the central stone, Selena, she was tied down, her face pale, her eyes wide with terror. Cale stood over her, that black crystal in his hand, pulsing with that sick green-black light. The robed figures, they chanted around them. Faster now, louder. My breath caught. We had to act. Now. Theron, Isla, I whispered, my voice a rasp. You know what to do. On my signal, make them look away from her. Just for a moment. Just one moment is all I need. They nodded, their eyes grim but resolute. Deep down, I knew the truth. This could be our last fight. For our pack. For Selena. For any hope of light in this dying world. Beneath the moonlight, or what little filtered through the diseased canopy, I took a deep breath. The scent of her fear, her despair, it tore at me. And then, I gave the signal. Now!
After that terrible chanting started, after they put that cold, black crystal near my heart, I thought it was over. My own little light, it was gone. Truth be told, I just wanted to close my eyes and disappear. But then, shouts. Screams. Not from the chanters. Different voices. And then, an explosion of sound from the trees. 2 wolves, Stoneclaws. Theron and Isla. Their fur matted with dirt, they burst into the clearing. Howling. Snapping. Creating chaos. The robed figures turned, surprised. Cale roared in anger. More importantly, in that tiny moment of distraction, a black shape. So fast. Like a shadow with teeth, it slammed into Cale. Derek. He was alive. Oh, thank the stars, he was alive. He fought like a mad wolf. His wounded shoulder forgotten. Pure fury in his golden eyes. He was trying to get to me. As if the world narrowed to just us. Cale, that monster, he met Derek's charge. They crashed together. A tangle of black and brown fur, snarling, ripping. My breath caught. My locket, it suddenly felt warm again. Not icy, but warm. And Lyra's voice, the spirit wolf, it whispered in my mind, now, child. The alpha creates your chance. Draw on the moonwell. Draw on your blood. Let it flow. My wolf pressed forward inside me, or maybe it was my wolf. I didn't know anymore. All I knew was Derek was fighting for me. Dying for me. And she let it happen. A new strength, hot and bright, surged through my veins. It wasn't just a little light this time. Oh no! It was a river. A roaring, silver river. I screamed, not in fear, but in power. The ropes binding me, they just burned away. The silver light exploded from me. From the moonwell beneath me. Washing over everything. The blighted creatures shrieked and dissolved into black smoke. The Covenant men screamed as the pure light touched them. Some catching fire. Others just vanishing. Cale, he held in pain as the light seared him. And then Derek, with a final, mighty effort, threw him far into the trees. And just like that, the terrible chanting stopped. The evil green-black light from the crystal, it shattered into a million pieces. What followed was a strange, ringing silence. The moonwell stone beneath me pulsed with a soft, gentle silver light. It felt clean. Pure. My chest ached, but not with fear. With something else. Power. And a terrible tiredness. I looked down at my hands. They were still glowing faintly. And then, Derek was there. He shifted back to his human form, slowly, wincing from his wounds. He was covered in blood, his scales, I didn't know. But his golden eyes, they were full of an emotion I'd never seen there before. Awe. Relief. Something tender. Selena. When her name left his lips, it was like a caress. He reached out, his hand trembling, and gently touched my cheek. His touch was rough from battle, but so warm, so real. In that moment, all the fear, all the running, it seemed to fall away. I leaned into his touch. Despite that, a sob escaped me. For Theron and Isla. I saw them lying still near the edge of the clearing. Oh, no, brave Theron, kind Isla. They fought for us, Derek murmured, his voice thick with pain, following my gaze. For the pack. For the light. As the silence stretched, we just looked at each other. Two survivors. Battered. Broken. But, together. The moonwell pulsed gently around us, a quiet heartbeat in the wounded forest. As if fate demanded it, he didn't let go of my cheek. His thumb brushed away a tear I hadn't even known I'd shed. His eyes held mine. This connection, it was real. It was powerful. And it was just beginning. Come morning, or what passed for it in the now softly glowing clearing of the moonwell, the air felt lighter. The oppressive weight of the blight had lifted from this small patch of land. Still, the grief for Theron and Isla, it was a heavy stone in my heart. Derek, his wounds roughly bandaged by old Alara, who had somehow survived the den attack, he stood beside me. His pack, those who were left, those who hadn't followed Morwen's lies, they looked at me differently now. Not with hate, or just fear. But with a kind of wonder. And maybe, just maybe, a little bit of hope. More importantly, Derek's hand found mine. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. As the bond pulsed between us, warm and strong, the moonwell in front of us suddenly flared brighter. Its silver light swirled, forming images in the air. Old images, like the ones in my vision, but clearer. Sharper. And then, a new image formed. Not of the past. But of the future? It showed a wolf, silver as moonlight, standing against a vast, encroaching shadow that threatened to swallow the whole world. And beside the silver wolf, a black wolf, strong and true. Us. Could it be? But then, the image shifted again. A new terror. A face made of pure shadow, with eyes like burning coals. A being of immense, ancient evil, the Magister Kale had spoken of. It felt aware. Like it could see us, even now. My blood ran cold. Lyra's voice whispered then, urgent and faint, the first war is over, child, but the great war is yet to come. He knows of you now, and just like that, everything changed, again. We had won a battle, yes. But the true enemy, the real darkness, it was only just stirring. And it knew my name. Epilogue. 3 moons had waxed and waned, after that terrible, wonderful night at the Moonwell. The air here, it didn't taste like ash and fear anymore. Truth be told, it smelled sweet, like new grass, and damp earth, and the silver light from the Moonwell, it pulsed like a gentle heartbeat, day and night. Little green shoots, they were pushing up through the once blighted soil. Hope. It looked just like tiny green shoots. More importantly, Derek stood beside me, his big hand holding mine. His touch was warm, solid, real. He didn't say much. He didn't need to. Between us, something cracked and healed that night of fire and light, and now there was just this quiet strength. Our quiet strength. Old Alara, her face softer now, without Morwen's shadow hanging over the pack, she said I was a miracle. But then, I knew it wasn't just me. No. It was Derek's fight, his belief even when I doubted. It was Theron and Isla's courage, their names now whispered with love and sorrow by the Stoneclaws. Because of that, a part of my heart would always ache for them, always. We had lost so much. Still, looking at the little pack children actually laughing again, chasing butterflies near the edge of the clearing, I knew their sacrifice meant something. It had to. As if the world narrowed to just this moment, Derek squeezed my hand. "It's good, isn't it?" he rumbled, his golden eyes soft as he looked at the healing land. "To see life again." I leaned my head against his strong shoulder. "Yes." I whispered. "It's very good." The locket, my mother's locket, it lay warm against my skin, no longer a stone of ice, but a gentle comfort. It still hummed sometimes, especially when Lyra, my spirit guide, whispered things in my mind. Mostly good things now. Mostly. What followed was our new life. Learning. Healing. Derek taught me more about being a shifter, about the pack, about this wild, beautiful world he loved so much. And then, I showed him what it meant to be a lunar ascendant, or what little I was learning. Sometimes, my light would flow from my hands to help a wilting plant, or soothe a scraped knee. Small magics. Gentle magics. Despite that, the pack, they still watched me with a little bit of awe, a little bit of fear. But Garrick, his anger mostly gone now, replaced by a quiet respect after seeing Derek fight for me, he even nodded at me sometimes. It was because they saw Derek's trust in me, his love, a word he didn't say often, but his eyes, his touch, they spoke it all the time. On the other hand, Lyra's final warning after the moonwell flared that last time, it still echoed in my quiet moments. The Great War is yet to come. He knows of you now, he. The Magister. That face of shadow and burning coal eyes I'd seen in the moonwell's vision. No matter how hard I tried to push it away, a shiver would trace my spine. That's why Derek and I spent many nights by our own fire, talking low, making plans. The Stoneclaws were recovering. We were recovering. But the world, it was bigger than this valley. The shadows, they were longer. More importantly, we would face them. Together. As if fate demanded it, Derek turned me to face him then, his golden eyes serious, so serious. "Whatever comes, Selena," he said, his voice a vow. "We need it. You and I." He cupped my face, his thumbs gentle on my cheeks. And just like that, with his scent in the air, with the moonwell pulsing its steady, silver light around us, and with the promise of a new dawn, and an old war, hanging in the air, I knew we would.